Defense. It's a well-known fact that offense may win games in the NBA, but it's the work done on the defensive end of the floor that eventually wins the chips. That has been proven dozens of times. However, playing defense is way easier said than done because it requires a lot of dedication, running, incredible desire, and just plain hard work. And with the offensive talent the league has right now, good luck playing D. Big man production in general is considered to be more valuable than guards and forwards because of their many responsibilities. Not only do they have to defend their man, but they also have to clean the glass, play help D, challenge and deny shot attempts, and box out their man, just to mention a few of their tasks. To be honest though, it's really difficult to judge defense. Some defenders rely on their savvy, some rely on their sheer athleticism, some on their skills, while some bank on their fundamentals, and so on. The league has had a lot of very good defenders, so here are the greatest defensive players in NBA history. At number 10, David Robinson. Defensive Player of the Year, 8 All-NBA defensive selections, 4 first team. David Robinson's defense, just like Tim Duncan, was subtle but very effective. In his first 7 seasons, Robinson averaged 3.6 blocks per game along with 1.7 steals per game. Robinson had an equally, if not better, offensive game, which is a huge reason why his defense goes unnoticed when talking about the all-time great defenders. At number 9, Dikembe Mutombo. 4-time Defensive Player of the Year, 6 All-NBA defensive selections, 3 first team. Dikembe had all the tools to become a great, outstanding defender. He stood 7 feet 1, was strong, athletic, and skilled with long arms that helped him establish himself as one of the greatest defensive players in the history of the league. Mutombo was an outstanding presence on the defensive end, perhaps the best shot blocker in the air duels right in your face, and one of the best shot blockers of all time. He was also an outstanding help defender too. He was so dominant as an interior stopper that he once blocked 31 shots in 5 games in their unforgettable upset of the top-seeded Seattle Supersonics in the 93-94 playoffs.
Up to Payton, ahead to Vinny, into the lane, challenging Mutombo, hands to Gill, up he comes.
Oh, and they're unlikely upset.
We were just all high-fiving and shaking.
At number 8, the glove, Gary Payton. Defensive Player of the Year, 9 All-NBA defensive selections, 9 first team. A hard-nosed defender who had all the essentials for being a great defensive bulldog. He was a great team defender and an individual stopper with very quick hands, making him one of the top defensive players ever. He was nicknamed the Glove for a reason, and he was arguably the best defensive standout that ever came out of the point guard position, whose sit-down ability is better than anyone today by far. His skills, toughness, and aggressiveness made him a lockdown standout. His greatest achievement came in 1996, forever earning a place in NBA history by becoming the first and so far the only point guard to earn the Defensive Player of the Year award.
He has now the last 2.5 games just unable to get the ball to him.
Three-pointer for Brent Berry at the horn. Here's a steal by the old vet.
At number 7, Big Ben Wallace. 4-time Defensive Player of the Year, 6 All-NBA defensive teams, 5 first team. For a big man, especially a center, Ben Wallace was not exactly that big, but regardless of that, he made his mark as one of the best defenders ever. He had phenomenal strength, athleticism, skills, and put in hard work in order to dominate the paint on defense, often stopping much bigger opponents like Shaq. In spite just standing 6'9", he routinely intimidated players when they were driving to the rack. He's one of the top help defenders of all time, who is also the most feared stopper in the history of the NBA, which is a legacy that still stands. He owns dozens of records, which is a testament to all the work he did to get to his stature in spite of being undrafted.
And we mentioned before the Pistons starters as Wallace makes the steal.
Take him off the dribble at any time.
O'Neal lost the ball, stolen away.
At number 6, Timmy D, Tim Duncan. 15 All-NBA defensive teams, 8 first team. Often viewed as unexciting but very efficient, he protected the lane with near perfect fundamentals. Duncan was never that guy who would go up and stop people in mid-air. Rather, his size, length, and skills combined with his superb instincts and high basketball IQ allowed him to outsmart most of his opponents. Duncan had impeccable timing that allowed him to get clean blocks without fouling opponents, making him one of the best shot blockers of all time. He excelled at cleaning the glass by understanding boxing out and dominating in the clutch, a perfect example which was his 15-rebound, 3-block performance in the Spurs' title-clinching win in the 2003 NBA Finals.
Fox to Walker. Duncan got a piece of it. Hunter able to get it down low to George, but Duncan on the block.
At number 5, Michael Jordan. Defensive Player of the Year, 9 All-NBA defensive selections, 9 first team. As unstoppable as Jordan was on offense, he was nearly just as good on the defensive side, one of the greatest defensive players ever. An athletic, skilled, and quick defender with great footwork and lightning quick hands that made him a lockdown defender on any given night. Jordan was a nightmare for opposing two guards. He played the passing lanes well and had an incredible amount of blocks for his position. Mans would be blocking centers. He was phenomenal whether it was on the ball or off the ball defense, and he was awarded with the Defensive Player of the Year award back in 1988. Probably the greatest defender at the shooting guard position, and it's a shame that his work on that end isn't talked about as much as his offense. At number 4, Scotty Pippen. 10 All-NBA defensive selections, 8 first team. The Chicago Bulls would have never had their three-peat if it wasn't for the defense of Scottie Pippen. Playing in the shadows of the GOAT, Pippen got it done on the defensive side of the ball. He would sit down on multiple positions and lock in. Scottie Pippen averaged 2 steals and nearly a block per game in his tenure with the Chicago Bulls, Houston Rockets, and Portland Trail Blazers. He could guard anyone on the court at any time, but his defense was a major reason why the Bulls are considered one of the best teams in history.
Scotty Pippen triggered that interior feed to Weber away.
2 seconds to shoot, and Ellie has it shoved back into space by Pippen, who gets it back.
At number 3, the Worm, Dennis Rodman. 2-time Defensive Player of the Year, 8 All-NBA defensive teams, 7 first team. Dennis Rodman was straight up eat on defense. Although he was somewhat bizarre when it came to the off-court antics, okay, maybe really bizarre, but when it came to the business of the game, he locked up. The surprising part is, back in college, Rodman was an effective scorer who later understood that he needed to help more on the other end to reach the next level. He was probably the most versatile stoppers the game has ever seen, dominated in 3 different areas: on the perimeter, in the post, on his man, and was terrific on help D as well. He guarded giants like Shaq and Hakeem and perimeter assassins like Jordan and Magic. He was a rebounding beast who will forever be remembered as one of the top glass cleaners of all time. At the peak of his powers, he was averaging around 19 per game, 6 more than his closest pursuer. At number 2, Hakeem the Dream Olajuwon. 2-time Defensive Player of the Year, 9 All-NBA defensive selections, 5 first team. Hakeem the Dream Olajuwon was a force to be reckoned with when an opponent ventured into the paint. He is the all-time leader in blocks with 3,830 and ranks 9th all-time in steals, which tops all big men in league history. In 3 different seasons, the Dream averaged over 4 blocks per game while also averaging almost 2 steals per game with 1.7. With his rare combination of length, grace, and instincts, Hakeem is one of the best defenders to ever grace an NBA court. At the top of our list of all-time defensive players is none other than the legendary Boston Celtic, Bill Russell. A legendary center who revolutionized the concepts of defense. Bill Russell is the greatest defensive player. He was the first one to prove that you could be a superstar while dominating on the other end of the court. He was one of the smartest players in the game. He seemingly had a book on everyone and was just that beast that knew how to crush the rhythm of the man he guarded. He created dozens of fast breaks for Boston, mostly from rebounding, blocks, and throwing outlet passes to anyone. Arguably the best shot blocker because of his fantastic style. He mastered 3 things for earning this distinction: perfect timing, not fouling the shooter, keeping possession for his team by turning the block into a rebound. He put all this to play when he slowed down the great Wilt Chamberlain, especially in the playoffs and finals. And it's a straight up shame that defensive stats like blocks and steals were not recorded at that time, or else you would see Bill Russell on that. However, the 11 championships that helped the Celtics win is enough to prove his defensive brilliance. That does it. Subscribe if you're new. Appreciate the view. If you love your mama, go ahead and like. And as always, thank you for watching.